Star of wonder, star of night. The story of the wise men. It's interesting, you know, people actually have they have careers around the theology, the science, and the history of the Star of Bethlehem. Isn't that amazing? There's enough meat there that they can actually make a living, actually spend their lives and their careers studying the Star of Bethlehem. There are so many different theories about what it was, whether or not it actually even existed, whether the wise men actually existed. There's astronomy involved, there's history involved, there's astrology involved, there's theology involved. There's so much, and politics actually. Politics is involved in it all as well. There's so much about it. And we only hear about it the one time. We hear about it in Matthew when we hear the story of the wise men. So I'm going to read you a little bit of that. This is Matthew 2. After Jesus was born in Bethlehem in Judea, during the time of King Herod, Magi from the east came to Jerusalem and asked, "Where is the one who has been born King of the Jews? We saw his star when it rose and have come to worship him." When King Herod heard this, he was disturbed, and all Jerusalem with him. When he had called together all the people's chief priests and teachers of the law, he asked them where the Messiah was to be born. "In Bethlehem in Judea," they replied, "for this is what the prophet has written. But you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah. For out of you will come a ruler who will shepherd my people Israel." Then Herod called the Magi secretly and found out from them the exact time that the star appeared. He sent them to Bethlehem and said, "Go and search carefully for the child. As soon as you find him, report to me, so that I too may go and worship him." After they had heard the king, they went on their way, and the star they had seen when it rose went ahead of them until it stopped over the place where the child was. When they saw the star, they were overjoyed. On coming to the house, they saw the child with his mother Mary, and they bowed down and worshipped him. Then they opened their treasures and presented him with gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And having been warned in a dream not to go back to Herod, they returned to their country by another route. You know, the story I like the best, I call them all stories, but the theory, I guess, is what I really should call it, because, you know, doctors actually come up with these theories. They probably prefer I call them that. Their thesis or their hypothesis, maybe even. I like where they involve astrology. I think that's the one that resonates most with my inner Christ, I think. Astrology being that, you know, these magi, they were brilliant scientists or doctors or astronomers or even astrologers. You know, ancient astrologers were running the world back then quite a bit, because, you know, based on the stars and the sun and the moon and all of that is how you ate, it's how you planted, it's how you did everything. Before technology, you did everything based on your environment, right? So they were pretty powerful people. And I love the idea that these guys were astrologers and astronomers, actually, and they knew from the prophecy, that a king was going to be born, and when that happened, it was going to show a great event in the sky. They knew that from a prophecy. And so when they saw exactly how everything lined up together, they knew that that was the sign. You know, they've actually gone back, and I want to say it's, well, I'm not going to give you the wrong date, but just before BC started, or ended, excuse me, just before it ended, April 27th, actually, they have charted where Jupiter was seen in the morning sky again for the very first time after several months of being gone. And Jupiter came up and Saturn right behind it. And all of the planets were in the same, they were all in Aries together, which is an unusual event. But then to make it even more unusual, the sun and the moon were in there too. So, and that it takes like 2,500 years for that to happen, right? So they say on April 27th, that happened. And a lot of them think that that is what the Star of Bethlehem was. And not necessarily even that it was that bright, although having all of those planets together would give us a lot of light in the night sky. But that they knew by looking that this event had happened. And apparently, in ancient astrology, probably still today, if Saturn follows Jupiter, it means the birth of someone. And so what they say is, this particular day has a magnificent, very special and original horoscope. That would be Jesus' horoscope. How cool is that? I love that. To me, that just feels good. I would think that Jesus has a great horoscope, right? And of course, I love the fact that it's all in Aries because, you know, I'm an Aries. So that's pretty cool. So that's the one theory I go with. But believe it or not, you could study this for forever. There's a million of them. And it's fascinating. And all throughout all of these studies, they can't help but bring out metaphysics because it's all so metaphysical. It's all so mystical. It's all so beautiful. So we take it on the simplest basis, the star that we're following. That's our light. That's our Christ. We're following the star and the light in our lives. And at Christmas we get to be reminded of the fact that we are following our light. Jesus showed us how it was done. I love it. Before service started, Mark and I were talking a little bit about it. You know, Mark used to be a minister a long time ago. So I love chatting with him. And he said something about, what do you do when the light goes out of your star? And I actually haven't been able to stop thinking about that. So I want to talk a little bit about that. How many of you have ever felt like the light went out of your star? Yeah, me too. I have felt that. You know, the dark night of the soul. At the dark night of the soul, you're not seeing that star. You're not seeing that light anymore. Right? So what do you do when the light goes out of your star? Prayer, meditation, focus. I think the one thing that comes to mind for me the most is what we celebrate in our first week of Advent. Faith, hope. The understanding that no matter how it feels right now, this too shall pass. This is going to pass. It's not going to feel like this all the time. God is going to take whatever is happening and make something fabulous out of it. No matter what. Sometimes it's hard to follow that light. Sometimes it's hard, sometimes it's like, I don't really care. It hurts too much. I don't like it. I don't want it. Take it away. But this too shall pass. People talk to me a lot when they're in a moment of not feeling their light. And the one thing I always tell them, 100% of the time, usually the way I start the conversation is by telling them, you're not always going to feel this way. If you don't believe that, you just have to trust that I know that you are not always going to feel this way. You will have the opportunity to see that star, to see and feel your Christed self, and to follow that light and follow that star to whichever direction it takes you. Now, you may have gotten sideswiped, or what feels like you were sideswiped. You might end up thinking that you're in a direction that you would never want to go ever. And I beg you at this moment to trust that. To trust it. Trust that that is still on the path of the star, even if you can't see it. That star is taking you out of your humanness and taking you closer to your Christed self with every step forward. Every step in faith and hope. Even if we're grumbling as we're doing it. Which is usually how I go. I mean, I believe what I say, so I know it's going to pass too, but that does not mean I'm not grumbling about it. I have a mentor. I grumble almost every single time I pick up the phone. And I know what he's going to tell me. Where's God in all of this? Where's God in all of this? Where's your star? Where's your touchstone? Where's God in everything that you're going through at this moment? Because God's there. I had a discussion with somebody recently about desire is what causes our suffering. I thought, and that's an Eastern thought, right? Desire is what causes our suffering. And I thought, that's true. If I didn't desire something and didn't get it, I wouldn't be disappointed. So I get that. But that doesn't mean that we aren't meant to desire, to love, to move forward. Edelweiss, we sang that today. And I mean, what a great conversation I had with Mark. Thank goodness, or I probably wouldn't have anything to talk about. Just kidding. But he did kind of change the whole trajectory for me. He was saying that, Edelweiss is found really high up in the Alps. It's the only place you'll find it. And if it wasn't for man's desire for adventure, they would never have found that beautiful gift from God. It is our innate nature to desire, it's a desire that helps us create, right? It isn't actually the desire that makes us suffer. It's the being attached to the outcome that gives us trouble. So we're meant to follow that star. We're meant to treat our journey with love and compassion. We're meant to treat the Christ within us with reverence. To pray, to meditate. Use frankincense and myrrh in your meditation time. Give yourself that special place where you meet with God. I know some folks meet down at the river. God's there every morning down at the river. Wherever your place is, to meet with your Christ itself, to meet with God, become one with God, treat it with reverence. Know that that is where you have arrived. You have come to the point of the star. And then treat it as the gift that it is. Treat it with love and kindness. I hope all of you are having a wonderful Christmas season. I can tell you I am. I'm having lots of fun with lots of Christmas music. And these days, with all the technology, I've got all kinds of stuff to watch and listen to. Yeah, videos with animals and one with a little pig. And how fascinating is the way the pig's nose moves? I don't know.
Christmas vacation.
And he's moving it in time to the Christmas music. That's all that matters. But I hope and wish for you all, even if times are tough, even if the season is bringing up things that aren't necessarily pleasant, I hope that you will know, because I promise you, this too shall pass, and God uses everything for good.